Lesson 1. The Prophet at Medina. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma akhrijna min zulumatil wahm wa akrimna bi nuril fahm. Allahumma aftah alayna abwaab rahmatik wanshur alayna khazaina ulumik birahmatika ya arhamar rahimin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Welcome to lesson 1, the Prophet at Medina of module 3, about the prophetic period in Medina of the course on Siratun Nabi. In the previous lesson, we dealt with the analysis of the persecution, which was the last lesson for module 2, that was the prophetic mission in Mecca. Living in contact with the Jews, the Arab tribes of Aws and the Khazraj were not foreign to the idea of the unity of God, or Tawheed. They had heard from the Jews that a prophet was to come. Some of their people had come into contact with the prophet at Mecca and had been deeply impressed by him. Remember the Pact of Aqaba. The deputation they had sent to Mecca had returned entirely satisfied and had accepted Islam. The disciples who had preceded the Prophet were spreading the message of Islam throughout Yathrib. Unlike the Makkans, the Yathribites had no vested interest standing in the way of their accepting the new religion. Islam had already taken roots in Yathrib, thus before the Prophet arrived there on the invitation of the Prophet of the people of Aws and Khazraj, as one of the provisions of the Pact of Aqaba, especially the second pact. No wonder they gave the Prophet a tumultuous welcome at Yathrib. The name of the city was then changed to Madinat-un-Nabī, so it was no longer called Yathrib. They call it Madinat-un-Nabī, sometimes Madinatul Munawwara, or the illuminated city, and Madinah for short means the city. Islam effaced the age-long enmity between the tribes of Aws and Khazraj, and they were given the honorific designation of Anṣār, or helpers or supporters. The emigrants, 45 in number, were called Muhājirūn. The construction of a mosque, Masjid-un-Nabī, was now underway, and the Prophet worked at it like any other laborer. Soon, a simple, unostentatious mosque with walls of unbaked bricks, with trunks of palm trees as pillars and a touch of palm leaves, was built with a few adjoining rooms of similar material. On the completion of these rooms, the Prophet, who meanwhile was living with Abu Ayyub al-Ansari, moved into one of them. The doors of the houses of some of the companions open into the mosque, while others are not. The Muhājirūn needed some meaningful relief because they left their own city, that is Mecca, without being able to bring with them all the belongings that they would be needing. To ensure their economic security and also to establish brotherly ties between them and the Anṣār, the Prophet joined each Muhājirūn with an Anṣār on a tie of brotherhood, ukhuwah, that became even more precious and enduring than the bond of blood relationship. The Anṣār volunteered to share half and half with their contractual brothers everything they earned or possessed. It is to this unification of interests that the Quran refers to the following passage. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Innal ladhina amanu wa hajaru wa jahadu bi amwalihim wa anfusihim fi sabilillahi wal ladhina آووا ونصروا أولئك بعضهم أولياء بعض. Surely those who believed and migrated and strived hard in the way of Allah with their property and souls, and those who sheltered and helped them, these are indeed friends and protectors of one another. The Muhājirūn were anxious not to remain a burden on their tribe, on their brothers. Soon, many of them settled down to trade and do business. In the course of time, they were rehabilitated, and within a few years, they were no longer in need of any financial support. So it was then that the following verse was revealed. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِن بَعْضُ وَهَاجَرُوا وَجَاهَدُوا مَعَكُمْ فَأُولَئِكَ مِنكُمْ. And those who believed afterwards and migrated and waged jihad along with you, they belong to you. In Medina, Islam had at first to face serious difficulties. Danger threatened it from all sides, and it had to fight against great odds for mere survival. Some of the battles forced on it were inspired by political motives, while others were the result of direct opposition to the new faith and the desperate efforts which its enemies exerted to put it down before it firmly established itself. Other difficulties were added by the predatory and warlike habits of the nomadic tribes hovering around the city and the insecurity and lawlessness prevailing in the country at large. It may be a good idea, therefore, to analyze and understand the political conditions of Arabia at this time. So next meeting, we will talk about Arabia's prevailing political conditions, inshallah. For more similar lessons, subscribe to Wayfaring with Mansoor channel. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.